Hi, I'm Franc Anderson, and I'd like to show you how to set the shutter speed and the aperture on a camera manually. Let's start with a fully manual camera. The first thing you have to do is to set the correct ISO for your film. In this case, I've chosen 800 ASA, ISO 800. Having done that, we have to meter the light to decide on the settings. I'm going to use a handheld meter for this manual camera. I've already set the meter to 800 ASA, the same speed as on the camera. So now I'll take a reading. The lights for this camera are quite dim, so let's see what it says. This reading says 180 at f/2.8.3. On a manual camera like this, we don't have such a variety of settings as on a digital camera. So I will use the top of the meter here to get to the nearest setting I can for manual. And up here it says 1/25 at f4. Now you have to decide which is the more important, the shutter speed or the aperture. In this case, the shutter speed is 1/125 of a second, and the aperture is f4. If the subject that you're photographing is moving, it may be that you cannot use this film in these lighting conditions because the light is simply too low. If the aperture is important, then it may be that if the shutter speed gets very slow, you're going to have to put the camera on a tripod. For example, if I choose an aperture here of f11, the shutter speed suggested now is 1/15 of a second. That is pretty much impossible to handhold, and the camera needs to be put on a tripod. Let's say that the situation is someone whose portrait you're trying to make, and that as far as you are concerned, a combination of 1/60 at 5/6 is absolutely satisfactory. Let's transfer this reading to the camera. The aperture setting is set on the lens. I just simply match up the arrow with f5.6 on the aperture ring and match the arrow to 1/60 on the speed setting dial, and I'm ready to shoot. On an SLR, this is a digital SLR, you could either choose to use a handheld meter or the camera's internal metering system. If you choose to use the handheld meter, then it's much the same situation. I select manual from the choices here on the menu, and then in this particular case, I am allowed to adjust the shutter speed and the aperture by means of these two dials. I can set the shutter speed here to 1/60 of a second, like so, and the back dial adjusts the aperture, which I'm going to set to f5.6, and the camera's ready to shoot. If I use the internal metering system to gauge the light, then I would have to take the position of this video camera, point the camera at myself or the subject, and have to press this button. In the viewfinder, I see a scale going from -2 to +2. And all I have to do on manual is to adjust the aperture or the shutter speed until the arrow on the scale is in the middle. When the arrow is in the middle, you're ready to shoot. All you then have to do is just press the button.